Hello and welcome to another episode with Handyman Dan. On this episode we are getting this Toyota Echo up and running. We'll run around, check the brakes, just make sure they're all good and try to get it back up and running. Alrighty, so you want to chock the vehicle and make sure the handbrake is on. Then you want to pull the hubcap off. Just pull it off like that. Now what you want to do is get the right size socket for the lug nut and just crack the lug nuts. And then you want to get your car jack and put it in the appropriate jacking spot. It's distinguished by these two notches, one there and one there. So basically you put the jack in between that and that's the jacking point. So we'll jack the car up now. Alright, now you've jacked the tyre off the ground, you can proceed to undo it fully. If you've got an impact driver or something like that, now's the perfect time to use it. Shag. Alright, and then once you've pulled the tyre off the car, it's always good to slide it under. And while you're here, you can just inspect the tyre, make sure there's no like holes or stones or nails or anything like that in it. But these ones are pretty new and pretty good. So once you've done that, just slide the tyre under the vehicle, just in case the jack falls. Alright, so now you've done that and you've got the tyre under the vehicle just in case it falls off the jack, you can go through and check your pads and rotor. And so as you can see, this rotor is not really worn at all. I'll try and get a good angle. There's still a lot of thickness in this rotor. Sometimes if they've worn down there'll be a lip up on this top and bottom, but there's basically no lip there. So as you can see, there's the brake lining, and then this is the backing plate. As you can see, we've got heaps of brake liner there, and we'll see if we can see the other side. Another good way of checking is through this inspection hole. You can definitely see the back brake liner there. So as you can see the brake pad, you can see the backing plate, you can see that we have heaps of brake lining left. These fronts are perfectly fine. Now, as you can see, whoever did these tyres last absolutely screwed up this stud. So you can see it's all chewed up. They've, I'm guessing, put a big rattle gun on it. I'll just pull this caliper off and slide the disc off, and then we'll see how hard it is to access this and tap it out and just go grab a new one. Alright, so now we're doing a little bit more involved work. I've just thrown this other jack under just as a little bit more insurance, but it'll be absolutely fine for what we're doing. Alrighty, so first things first, what we've done is got this strap, wrapped it through the brake housing, and then wrapped it up to the suspension, just so then when we undo these bolts, it's not hanging off the brake line, so it doesn't stretch or affect that at all. And so now we'll crack off, there should be two bolts, one here and another one here. So I'll undo both of those two. Alright, this one is 17mm. I took the strap off for the time being just to help me loosen these off because they were really tight. And once I've cracked them, as you'll see, I'll put the strap back on before taking the bolts out fully. As you can see, these were done up really tight, and so I had to put the breaker bar on and then hit it with a hammer to loosen it off. You just need to be very careful when you do this that the socket doesn't move and you don't strip the end of the nut. But if you're careful and you tap it, it's a good way to free up tight bolts. Okay, so we've got those two undone, then we can pull this off. We might just pull this up a little bit higher. There we go. Okay, so we just got this one out, and then with a hammer you can just tap that. I've already tapped it a little bit, but you can just tap it out Just make sure you line up the back of it with an area that it can get out. And that's it. That's your wheel stud, whatever you call it in your country. But yeah, you can see the thread where it's all chewed out. So we'll go to an automotive store and pick up a new one. And while we're there, we'll probably grab a new nut, just because of this is the one that came off of it, and as you can see, the threads are fairly chewed up. So new part's been delivered, wheel stud and nut. Exactly what we need, so we'll put that in and then put it all back together. So we get the new wheel stud and we'll slide it in from the back. Alright, all we'll do, put the nut on. And we'll just do it up to crush it in. Good enough. So we just need to use a piece of timber just to hold, to stop it from rotating. Yeah, I have the beeper. So that's tightened up. It's all snugged down. You can see it protrudes the same amount as the existing ones. When we tighten up the wheel nuts, when we put the tyre back on, it'll pull it in any other amount that needs to be, but that's it, perfect. So we'll take this one off and we'll put the caliper back on and we'll put the wheel back on. Disc brake rotor back on. Just line it up. Perfect. And get our two caliper mounting bolts. They're 17mm. We can put this back on. So yeah, we can tighten them back up with the 17. So I'll just put it on the rattle gun. The bottom one, just snug them up. And torque wrench, they can get torqued down to, that's 108 Newton meters. And now we can take the strap off, put our head behind and have a visual inspection just to make sure everything looks like it's sitting nice. Perfect. Let's mount it up. Let's have a look from the top. Yep, all good. We can put the tyre back on. Throw the tyre back on. The lug nuts, wheel nuts. And now make sure everything's out from under the vehicle and we can lower it down off the chair. Jack up and check the brakes the whole way around for the remainder of the vehicle. We'll also check all the tyres. Alright, so we can start by cracking off these. Jack under and jack it up. Now it's the same thing on this side. It's the jacking points symbolised by the two notches, so in between that, it's the perfect spot to jack it up. And now because we're jacking up this back wheel, we need to make sure we put this chock on the opposite side back wheel just to stop it rolling. Jack it up so the back tyre's off the ground. And now because we're doing the back tyre, this is where the handbrake is applied. So we can put the vehicle in gear and we can take the handbrake off. Now we can finish taking the lug nuts or the wheel nuts off. That's good, none of these have been over tightened like the front. Pull this off, and with this one, put the tyre under the vehicle. Perfect. Alright, so now you've got the wheel off, you've got it under the vehicle for some added protection, then you should just be able to pull the brake drum off. Now with this one, you might just need to tap it with a hammer. There we go. So after a little bit of fiddling we got there, as you can see, this is our brake pad lining, that's our backing plate. As you can see, they've got heaps left on them, so that's all cool. Rear brakes are fine. I'm guessing the other two will be exactly the same, with the front on the other side having heaps and the rear on the other side also having heaps, but we'll go through and check them just so we know. Happy none of these wheel studs have been stripped like the other ones, but this is how quick it should have been to do the fronts. Should just be a quick check and then that's that. So we'll throw everything back on and put it back together. You can also check to make sure this isn't severely worn. Sometimes there'll be a big lip. Sometimes there'll be a big lip on this edge here where the pads run, but there's hardly any lip at all. So these are pretty much almost brand new, or the equivalent worn for doing almost 200,000 Ks. So you just line it up like that. Get your tyre out from under the vehicle. While you're here, you can inspect the tyre. There's a stone there. I'll pull that out while I'm here. Stones can drive themselves in and create a puncture. Troublesome one. Line up the studs. Perfect. Now we'll lower the vehicle. Okay, so now we've chocked the tyre that we just put back on the ground, because we're going to do the opposite side. Okay, so we've got the tyres chocked, we can go around and just crack these off again. It's the same again. Jacking point signified by the two ridges. Check here. Yep, all good. This wheel cylinder, make sure that's not weeping. Just make sure nothing's weeping in here. Everything looks good. There's no brake fluid or anything. Everything looks perfect. No, that's not worn badly at all. Put it back on and we know we're all good. Do a tyre inspection again. Line up the wheel with the lug nuts. Now we've finished doing the rears, we can put the handbrake back on. And we can take it out of gear, just because we're going to be doing the fronts, and this is front wheel drive. We can move this chock from the front, put it to the rear, pull this hubcap off. Yep, we've got lots of brake pad left. Yeah, as you can see, heaps of brake pad. So perfect, all good. That's how quick it should have been. Throw the tyre back on. And we can lower the vehicle. Now we can go around and torque all the wheel nuts up to spec. They are also 108 Newton meters. Fine if you don't have a torque wrench with your breaker bar that you use to undo them. It's just like pretty firm, kind of, you know, for the amount of your body weight. Just a nice, I'll get one in, kind of just like a decent push down. It's plenty. I hope you found that video helpful, and I hope it gave you the confidence to do the job yourself. And if you ever find a wheel stud on your car that's stripped or damaged, you'll be able to replace it.
Thank you so much for watching the video. Hope you got something out of it, and give it a like and subscribe to the channel as there's more content coming, and I'll see you in the next one. You.